Hello, my name is Ruth Maldonado, and today I'm going to be going over a presentation about establishing your voice while doing branding and advertising for a brand and company. All the works and everything can be found in Advertising, a Concept and Copy by George Felton. Alright, so first off, with establishing your voice, one of the best things to do is to basically get to know your brand or the client that you're going to be working for. You need to understand the character of the brand. And this basically comes down to, who are they, how they talk, and, just kind of figuring out exactly their character. And the whole reason of this is because you're going to develop what we call the ethos, which is the personal character, which helps to and functions as the means of persuasion. Because when a person kind of buys into the brand or buys their product or is willing to do these things, it's because they're not just buying the product, they're buying the ethos too, or the personality that comes with it, the reason why they connect. The best way to kind of get to know the character of your brand is to consult what we call the higher power, or it's also known as the brand guide. So the brand guide itself is going to cover your logo options, typography, imagery, logo treatment, color palette, personality, voice, and mission statement. So as soon as you come to start working for your client or this brand or whomever it is that you're working for, you just kind of want to ask them, hey, do you guys have a brand guide? If the answer is yes, then consider yourself lucky and enjoy your new reading material. This is going to be your ins and outs of the company that you're going to be working for, building these ads for. So it's just kind of get to know everything that they know and everything that they are, what they believe in, and everything. So it's your new Bible. It's your best friend. And you're going to read it through probably a number of times before you, in reference to it, while you're creating whatever it is that you're trying to create, the advertisements or logos or whatever. After that, and that's if they say yes. If they say no, you're even luckier, really, because now you get the opportunity to really get to know the company that you're going to be working for and the brand itself. And now you have to take on this task, but it's not easy, but it's not hard. So here's a couple of ways that you can kind of establish your brand guide, and it's also going to help you establish your voice. Just to list it out real quick. 1, we're going to write a mission statement. 2, we're going to write a slogan. 3, we're going to pick 5 adjectives that kind of describe who we are as a brand and as a company. And then we're going to write a profile. And once this profile is written, in all of these parts, we should kind of have a really good idea of who they are, what they are, and how exactly they would talk, right? So first up, writing a mission statement. A mission statement is basically, it could be anything from a few words to an entire paragraph, but you don't want it to be overwhelming or too much, because it needs to be something that the consumer is willing to read, right? They want to look over it and they want to go through it. So it's basically a list of principles that kind of your brand embodies and who they are, what is it that your client believes in, what are they about, how do they do this, and whom do they direct it to. So they use pedigree as a view for a mission statement. The one that I would like to use is Nike, because Nike is very well rounded, is very well established. Everybody knows Nike, everything that they do. So our mission is what drives us to do everything possible to expand human potential. So this is what they believe in, right? What do we do? That by creating groundbreaking sport innovations, by making our products more sustainably, by building a creative and diverse global team, and by making a positive impact in communities where we live and work. So this covers it all: what they believe in, what they're like, what about it exactly that they believe in, and then how they achieve and help what they believe in, and then also exactly who it's directed to. So this is directed to the communities, and they're about sustainability, creativity, and diversity. Next up would be writing a slogan. The slogan is basically anywhere from 3 to 5 words. It can also be considered kind of like a tagline, I feel. But a slogan is kind of simple and interchangeable. It's something that is a quick way to it takes that mission statement and makes it even smaller and kind of more relatable for the person, because this is how the consumer is going to remember. So Nike, of course, iconic, just do it. It's everywhere. Everybody knows it. Skittles, taste the rainbow. We love it. We know it. Maybelline, I've remembered this from when I was little. Maybe she's born with it. Maybe it's Maybelline. Love it. One of my favorites though right now is Jaritos, because this is the fact that they took something from Mexico that in Spanish que buenos son and brought it and had to figure out a translation for it in English. So Wallow, they had to do like a whole case study. They took Jaritos out and they figured out how people were defining it when they were drinking it, how it made them feel. And it was just like, you take that first sip and it was like, oh my God, this is super good. And so que buenos son in Spanish and directly translated to English is how good they are, right? And that's too much. We can't exactly say that, but we can say, dude, that's super good. So Jaritos, super good. So that's a really good way to kind of take something that was, it's cross barriers. It's something in Spanish that now has this really cool relationship with us in America and in the US and English, and it defines it just in a way that we can feel. And it has this really good correlation. It's simple and interchangeable, both English and Spanish, which is great. After that, this whole idea of picking 5 or so adjectives, you can just kind of take a moment to brainstorm and write down at least 5 words or phrases that kind of sum up the personality of your brand or your client that you're working for. And it's just kind of, don't be generic. Don't just sit there and be like, oh, they're passionate. Oh, they're friendly. Oh, they're creative. Oh, they be specific. If they are purposeful, then how are they purposeful? What is it exactly that makes them purposeful? Well, they're poised and they're practical. They're innovative. That means that they're, basically pioneering and problem solving. Maybe they're inspired, so they're passionate and motivated. They're clever, so they're stimulating and canny. So these are just kind of like, you don't want to, you could just say, but they're purposeful. But how are they purposeful? It just kind of, you need to be real specific, because this is how you're going to start to establish this voice in this person. Because the next step, you're going to take these 5 words and your mission statement and your slogan and develop a profile. Because now these little bits, you can start to see exactly what kind of person, one, that's going to be consuming your product, and 2, also the product itself, the brand itself. Who are they? If you were to take their brand and kind of show it as a person, this is how you would do it. You would write this profile. So think of your client as a brand or a person, right? Write a little list, a summary of who this person actually is, like what they like to do, what kind of music, what's their favorite show, do they like to go eat out, do they like to cook at home, do they like to go camping, do they have kids, no kids, all these little bits, because that's kind of what's going to make it relatable to your consumer. And all of these things are just going to help you create this voice, because next, after this, you're going to start talking like this person. But as an example, I used something that I did last semester. I created a coffee shop that was geared to metalheads. So I created everything, all this stuff, and it was like, when I thought of the brand as a person, this is exactly who I pictured. This is Moses. He's in his mid to late 40s. He's had some bad choices in life, but they turned into some really good life lessons. He's a musician. He plays guitar, bass, drums, piano, and he'll touch anything that is musically there. As long as he has the opportunity to go over it, he can learn it. He can pick it up. He isn't really into sports that much, but he likes to go outdoors. He's a little bit of a roughneck. He likes working with his hands. He spends the weekend fixing cars with his son, just things like that. So this goes down to the fact that he loves his family, and he used to have a band, but he's like kind of giving it up. So this way he can nurture his family and feel that love. And yet he still kind of figures out a way to make time for his friends on the weekend, or, just kind of fits them into where he can jam out. So all of these little bits is now you have this profile, you have this person. So obviously now you kind of have this idea of how this person's going to talk, right? So that Moses in his late 40s, he's probably going to say things like, "What's up, dude?" Or "Hanging out, chilling, rock on, just that's so metal, just, let's shred," whatever it is that might work in those things. And those are kind of set that tone in that voice. So now that you've had all these little bits, you should have a really good idea of what the voice is for your brand and how it's been established and what it is. And one of the first things, once you've had this, and you need to figure out, well, how am I going to approach these ads and what do I need to do? So the best way would be to write in the first and second person, or in the second person, but really because it's like depending on how you're approaching this person. So You're going to write it in the first and second person, and then you're going to kind of decide who really is talking. So once you've established your brand, is it the company itself that's talking? Is it the consumer that's talking? Is it both the company and the consumer that's talking? Or, is it some other voice or some other player in this whole scenario that's talking? So just to break that down a little bit, when we're actually applying these concepts, be the company. So in these ads on the left side for be the company, they take a different approach. It's like, we're here, we're the hero. This is who we are and kind of how we think and establish this company. So the first one, the new science world, they're kind of insulting you a little bit, but at the same time, it's like playful. You taught your kids everything you know. Let us undo the damage. So that's the whole concept. Like, yeah, you've taught them all these little things, but we're here. We know what's right, and we're going to help you out. So they are the company, right? They're talking as themselves. The thing you want when you order your salad, McDonald's, it's like, when you have that craving and you're trying to be healthy, I guess, and you're eating that salad, this is what you're thinking about, is the company and the McDonald's and the burger. Another one is iPhone and Apple. Down here, you have your phone, which is all grayed out, glitchy, and iPhone is, beautiful in color. And this is actually, I should have put in the other photo, but it's like a step process. The one next to it, the girl is in the pink or in the purple. I'm not sure what color that is, but she's on that side, and she's like perfectly set out, and she's really pretty and things like that. So it's that way. So that's how you can approach it, as being the company. So basically, you're bringing the forefront of your company and comparing it to something else, or showing it as the hero or the thought and things that way. So they're talking as the company. Over here, it's like talking as the consumer. Me personally, I see this palm drink, and I know that whenever I've drank any kind of antioxidant kind of drink, I'm always like, I feel good, I feel healthy, I just did whatever I could do. And this is kind of how they're using that. It's like cheat death. As soon as, like, it's an eye-catching headline, but at the same time, it's like something that I would think, right? And it's just kind of, the imagery is a little weird, but I feel like it works in the fact that it's the consumer side. It's how I think that whenever I drink something healthy, that I'm fine and I'm never gonna die, or it's gonna take longer, right? So that's that point. Same thing for the other two. It's kind of that position where, will meth make me dig at my own skin? It's like, when someone's in that position, it's like, are you going to be, those are kind of those questions. And it's like, they're using that consumer view, and it's just like, this is how we're going to educate you. And lastly is like, they present someone that we can semi-relate to or look up to, Gal Gadot, Wonder Woman. But then it's like, failures are fuel for future victories. And this is like strong. And as a consumer, and as me personally, this is how I would think when I put on like Reebok shoes. It's like, this is what I'm going to think, and this is going to make me push forward, because Reebok is all about pushing forward and things like that. And that's how you would use this in that sense. Now, be the company and consumer. This, I think, is hilarious. Orbit's gum, they do a really funny job about like, do you have a potty mouth? Chew Orbit gum. It's like taking the approach of the consumer first, then making the joke about it, and then the company is like, oh, well, we'll clean it up for you. So that's a great use. And then one of my other favorites is be the voice of some other player. And I feel this kind of takes a place whenever there's a character, or like the introduction of a third party, as far as, what it is they're fighting against. And I think Allstate really does a really cool job, because they created a persona of mayhem, and they brought it into a visual part where it's like, this is who both the company and the consumer are trying to, fight against, or, hold opportunity against, to kind of be prepared. So there's that aspect. So finally, once you've kind of developed this voice and all that, and you're trying to work, one of the things that you have to kind of do to set yourself apart and be distinct is avoid cliches. But at the same time, if you are going to use one, you have to know how to use it properly. So first off, to avoid cliches, you want to avoid overused words, overused expressions, and overused ideas, because it's just, when everybody uses it, it's never really, it's not going to set you apart. Everybody's heard it before. They've seen it before. So there's where that is. And then if you are going to use a cliche, then you need to turn it into something different and apply it in the way that's specific either to your brand, or, to the product itself. So Nike did a really cool use. It's like, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. And in this aspect, they were like, well, when the wet get wet, they go to Hawaii. And then they turned it out into this whole thing that Hawaiian shirts for your feet. That was that whole thought process. And that they took this cliche, they turned it into what they needed it to, and then they like represented it in a whole nother aspect. And then lastly, Firehouse Subs. I think this was really cool too, because it's like, put your money where your mouth is. And then like, well, we put our money where your mouth is. Like, we put that investment, and they took this cliche and brought it into something that we could understand. So to recap, how to establish your voice. Basically, first you start off by consulting the brand guide to figure out whether or not, to learn about your brand and the character of it. Do they have it? Yes. Then get to work. If they don't, then get to work even harder, because now you have to create this brand guide. And in order to do that, you need to write the mission statement. You can write a slogan, do 5 adjectives that display the character of your brand, do the profile of your brand once you've kind of had all this, and then talk like them. And then once that's all established, you have this really good idea of the voice that you're going to use. Once you have the voice, are you going to talk? Are you going to be the company? Are you going to be the consumer? Are you going to be both the company and the consumer? Or are you going to be the voice of some other player in the scenario? And lastly, make sure to avoid cliches. And if you are going to use a cliche, use it the way that it needs to be for your company to persuade. That's it. Thank you very much. Have a great day.